Now looking at those Centum results, the company posted a 40% drop in full-year pre-tax profit. The company did say that they would issue a dividend, but we saw that stock falling back quite significantly. Talk us through the market reaction to those results.
A very good afternoon to you, Mashudu. Yes, indeed, the Centum did take the market by surprise in terms of that profit fall of about 40%. Now, the market as a whole has not taken that news particularly well because, in principle, for example, the company has made very long commitments, and the market as a whole has been very positive on the expectations. For one, the company has suspended dividend payout for up to next year, 2013. So the market really took the fall in earnings particularly heavily, and the stock has been punished quite a bit.
Now looking at that real estate side of the business, the company has placed a lot of focus on that side of the business, but not a lot of cash has been generated from that side over the past 2 years. When can we start seeing a turnaround coming through there?
Well, the real estate aspect of it is a rather unique one. It compares very closely with what you have in Sandton, the developments around the Mandela Square, the developments on the VA waterfront. So these are kind of investments that actually take quite some time to not only conclude and seal the deals, but also for the cash flows to start coming in. And Centum is still at the stage whereby the necessary approvals are being finalized, the designs are being finalized. So it'll take at the very least another 24-month period before any revenues can start coming in. Groundbreaking is expected later on this year, in September or thereabout, at least for the Nairobi property. And one can only anticipate at least and give them adequate time to at least do some developments on that before any revenues can begin coming in. So for that, one should actually give at least a 24-month period for the revenues to start coming in. But that aside, the very positive issue and the very positive developments that we've seen on this particular two developments, that is the Nairobi development and what they have over in Uganda, is that the market is really anticipatory of these, and the market is taking them very, very positively, because they are developing new destinations, developing new scenes which the governments and the city councils have really not been able to do. So bringing them in from a private equity perspective, it's a very, very exciting thing to see all in all.
You touched a bit on the revenues of the company. The CEO also said that it's going to be quite a challenging year going forward, particularly between 2012 and 2013. Looking at the long-term outlook for the stock, we saw it come down pretty much today on those results. Your outlook on the stock going forward?
Well, I think the outlook actually continues to be very positive. I think today the market really just punished the stock a bit too much. There was a short-term overcorrection on this. And looking forward, I still see very deep value in Centum. The net asset value is at about 20 shillings. The market has punished the stock, bring it down to below 12 shillings. So looking forward, for the long-term investor, there is a lot of deep value in this. And let me conclude also on that note by saying and disclosing fully that I am closely associated with the company through an associate company.
Now looking at Distel, it's reported to have terminated its long-standing distribution contract with Kenya Wine Agencies. We know that Centum owns about 26% of Kenya Wine Agencies. With such a big holding in the company, what kind of impact could we see this having on Centum's earnings as well as the Kenya Wine Agency going forward?
Right, picking back on Centum once again, one of the big investment strategies that the company has had on its portfolio holdings has been towards the beverage sector, and Kenya Wine Agencies has been one of the key holdings for the company. So Distel, by pulling out terminating its agreement with the Kenya Wine Agencies, it brings in a very complicated scenario whereby a collaborator now is becoming a competitor, and that's likely to have a very negative impact on Centum's incomes as well as Kenya wine agencies at that. So this actually complicates the scenario and the very favorable earnings that Centum has been obtaining from the beverage sector. And keep in mind that the beverage sector actually contributes over 50% of Centum's incomes from the unquoted investments.
So looking at Capture Tea, it came out with a profit warning today, saying that full-year profits are to fall by about 25%. Now looking at Capture Tea within the whole agricultural space, looking at those that profit warning, what do you make of Capture Tea, and when looking at the other agricultural stocks in that same sector?
Yes, Capture Tea actually, with that profit warning, has not done anything too different. I remember late last year, actually, really being put under pressure, and also the CEO of, actually it was Sassini, that also came out with a profit warning and was very between a rock and a hard, was very much between a rock and a hard place in bringing out the differences between an actual loss and an accounting allocation, which is the same thing that Capture has done in this case because of the international accounting standards. So with this profit warning, which is purely an allocation for biological assets, the market at least is well armed with that kind of information, and one should actually trade in the stock, at least being a bit more careful. Now, the big issue here is that the actual incomes and what actually investors look for are very different things altogether. Some look for dividends, others look for operating earnings, and others look into quite a number of other things. So all in all, this kind of profit warning really just brings out and actually caters to real investors out there and actually guides their perceptions and their investments. So it's actually, in my books, a very favorable thing. Remember that today you mentioned earlier that Centum has actually come quite a bit under pressure because of the absence of a profit warning.